Have you ever looked around and thought, God, did you forget about me? The promotions pass you by. The prayers seem unanswered. The promises feel distant. And you start to wonder, am I delayed? Or just lost in the waiting? I want to take you back to a quiet night in the life of a young shepherd named David. He wasn't in a palace. He wasn't holding a crown. He was holding a harp, alone in a field, talking to sheep, and singing songs to a God no one could see. Yet in that hidden place, God was watching. God was shaping. God was preparing a king. And what if I told you, that's exactly what God is doing in your life right now? Because what looks like delay might actually be divine alignment. In today's message, I want to share with you 3 powerful truths from Scripture that will help you see your waiting season through heaven's eyes. You'll learn how hidden seasons are actually holy seasons, how God is growing you before He shows you, and why you are not behind. You are being positioned for blessing beyond what you can imagine. So grab your coffee, quiet your heart, and lean in. Because once you see what God is doing behind the scenes, you'll never look at delay the same way again. You're not delayed. You're in divine alignment. Let me tell you about a friend of mine named Sarah. She had been faithfully serving in her local church for years, quietly showing up early to set up chairs, staying late to clean up after youth group, praying for others behind the scenes. She had a heart for ministry, a dream to teach, and a deep desire to see God use her life in greater ways. But year after year passed, and nothing seemed to open. Doors stayed shut. Opportunities went to others. She started to feel invisible, like maybe she'd missed her chance. One day she said to me with tears in her eyes, "Maybe I'm just behind. Maybe I missed what God had for me." But here's the truth. God doesn't operate on human timelines. He's not in a hurry, but He's never late. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to His purpose." Not some things, not just big things, all things, even the waiting, even the silence, even the moments when it feels like nothing is happening, God is still working. The enemy loves to whisper, "You're stuck, you're falling behind, look at everyone else." But heaven's perspective says, you are being strategically positioned for something greater. Think of Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, wrongfully imprisoned. For 13 years, it looked like his life was going backward, but what seemed like delay was actually divine alignment. God was arranging every step to place Joseph exactly where he needed to be, at the right time, in front of Pharaoh, to fulfill a purpose far bigger than himself. Here's a small but powerful lesson. God's preparation often feels like a pause, but it's not a punishment, it's positioning. So maybe you're like Sarah. Maybe you're in a season where it feels like everyone else is moving ahead while you're stuck in place. But I want to gently remind you today, you are not delayed. You are being aligned, and just like a skilled archer pulls the bowstring back before launching the arrow forward, God may be pulling you back, not to hold you down, but to send you further than you ever imagined. So if you feel like you're waiting in the shadows, hold on. Because in that hidden space, God is doing His deepest work. And that brings us to something even more sacred. Hidden seasons aren't just a pause. They're holy. Let's talk about that. Hidden seasons are holy seasons. When I was a child, my grandmother used to keep seeds in little glass jars lined up on her windowsill. I'd ask her, "When will we plant them?" "Once." She'd smile and say, "Not yet. They need to rest first." At the time, I didn't understand. But now, I see the wisdom. Seeds don't grow on display. They grow in the dark, in the soil, hidden, quietly taking root before ever breaking through the surface. And friend, your life with God is often just like that. There are seasons when you feel buried, when no one notices you, when your gifts seem unused, when your prayers seem to echo in silence. It can feel lonely, forgotten, or even like failure. But what if this hidden season is the holiest thing God is doing in your life right now? Psalm 91:1 tells us, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." There is power in the secret place, not just in public success, but in private surrender. Let's look at Esther. Before she ever became queen, she lived years in obscurity. She was an orphan girl, raised by her cousin, hidden away in a foreign empire, with no clue that her story was being woven into the salvation of an entire nation. For a long time, her life looked ordinary. But then came that pivotal moment, when Mordecai said to her, "Who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Ajote 4:14. The truth is, her hidden years were not wasted. They were holy. They prepared her heart. They trained her courage. They positioned her to be used by God in a moment that would change history. And maybe you're in that kind of season right now. A season where God is refining your character, purifying your motives. Jeremiah 10:10. I, the Lord, search the heart. Teaching you to hear His voice without the noise of applause. Here's the lesson. The spotlight doesn't make you ready. The secret place does. You see, God is far more interested in who you're becoming than what you're doing. Because when He calls you forward, He doesn't want to promote a version of you that hasn't been deeply rooted in Him. So don't despise this quiet place. Don't rush out of it. Because the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. And when the time is right, God knows how to bring you from hidden to seen, from preparation to purpose. Which leads us into one final truth today. Before God shows you to the world, He grows you in secret. Let's explore that together. Grow before you're shown. Preparation comes before promotion. There's a story in 1 Samuel 16 that I never get tired of reading. The prophet Samuel is sent by God to anoint the next king of Israel. He arrives at Jesse's house and sees Eliab, the strong, impressive older brother. Surely this must be the one, Samuel thinks. But God whispers something unexpected. Look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, for the Lord seeth not as man seeth. 1 Samuel 16:7. One by one, Jesse presents his sons, but none are chosen. Finally, almost as an afterthought, he says, "Well, there is one more. The youngest. He's out in the fields with the sheep." And that's the one God wanted. David. He wasn't in the spotlight. He wasn't campaigning. He was growing in the field, writing psalms, fighting lions and bears, learning how to worship, how to pray, how to obey. You see, God doesn't rush greatness. He builds it, one hidden day at a time. David was anointed as king that day, but he didn't sit on the throne the next. In fact, it took years of wilderness, rejection, and refinement. But those years weren't wasted. They were the very foundation that made him a man after God's own heart. And here's what I want to say to you. Don't crave the crown if you haven't embraced the cave. Don't demand the stage if you've skipped the training ground. Luke 16:10 says, "He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much." God watches how you steward the quiet places before He entrusts you with public ones. Maybe you're teaching 5 kids in a Sunday school room, or writing songs no one has heard yet, or serving in a job that feels far from your calling. But in God's kingdom, preparation always comes before promotion. Here's a lesson I've learned the hard way. If you skip the growing, you'll collapse under the showing. The spotlight is heavy if your roots aren't deep. So keep showing up in the field. Keep writing, keep praying, keep loving people when no one is watching, because God is. And when the time is right, He will show you off Himself. If this message spoke to your heart, don't forget to subscribe to ChristGlow Daily, where we dive into the Word, find strength in hidden seasons, and discover how God's timing is always perfect. Your season of growth matters. And when God says now, no man can stop what He's prepared in you. See you in the next video, and until then, stay faithful, stay hidden, stay glowing in Christ.